What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another North Carolina football commitment podcast. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, joining me as she doesn't always do, because Deana, to be honest with you, we don't do a ton of pods together, but I'm subbing in again for AJ on this one as we're here to talk about another 2024 commit for the Tar Heels. But let me finish my introduction first. Got our director of football recruiting, Miss Deana King, joining me for this one. And I mean, Deana, I guess what has been a very, very busy month for the Tar Heels continues with Keenan Jackson, 2024 wide receiver out of Weddington High School in Matthews, North Carolina, has committed to the Tar Heels, 3-star ranking via Rivals, number 14 player in the state and the number 80th wide receiver in the country. Real quickly as well, Deana, he did have a final 6 of Virginia Tech, North Carolina, Duke, NC State, Appalachian State, and Maryland. So Carolina did beat out at least 4 home state teams, or 3 other home state teams as well, and obviously a local recruiting rival more so in the past maybe than it is now in Virginia Tech. So once again, another big commitment for that 2024 class, which is just taken shape this month and almost rounded out, I would think, at this point, with how many commits Carolina now has in that class. But Deana, being an in-state kid, I'm sure you can tell us a little bit about Keenan Jackson. So let us know what Carolina is ultimately getting in 3-star wide receiver Keenan Jackson.
Jackson has been on Carolina's radar for a long time. He played his first few years at Cuthbertson High School, which is also in Union County. Union County has produced a lot of good quality football players. Sam Howell.
It's a pretty good way to start off the list right there.
Everybody knows him.
A good way to start off the list.
But he is transferred to Weddington. Weddington is a very, very good football program. They're year in, year out state title contenders and had a very good run last year. But he's a big athletic wide receiver and fits a mode that Coach Galloway loves. And they want variety in the wide receiver room. You always want your small, quick guys, and then you got your lanky guys, and then you got some guys that can play either slot, inside, or outside. So, he's a big guy, had a great year last year. Been to North Carolina numerous times. It seemed like he was there for almost all the home games and has been back on campus several times in this year. Took an official this past weekend with the large contingent that was there.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Andrew had basically told a lot of our listeners that the wide receiver room was the only room that hadn't really got a commitment. And to start looking after these last official visits through July, kids are going to be making decisions. So it just happens Keenan Jackson is going to be making he made his choice earlier than the other ones in June. So, like you said, it was a in-state, basically, recruiting battle, plus Virginia Tech. And so I think North Carolina got them a really good wide receiver because they need receivers. I mean, I remember when Coach Galloway first came with Coach Brown. Galloway said he wanted like 10 to 12 receivers. Then he just run in. Well, he's not had that yet. And, they're looking to take quite a few receivers in this class. So he's the first one.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was almost surprised when I looked at the commitment list that there wasn't more wide receivers on it, and there really just isn't any besides him. There's a few athletes on there that may end up playing wide receiver at some point, but he's kind of the first real true wide receiver that is committed to that class, and it is a surprise because of what you mentioned about how much receivers Carolina wants to have and likes to have on the roster that not only are there for, practice reps and all that stuff, but they can contribute as well. You need a deep room with the type of offense that Carolina's run in the Mac Brown, 2.0 era. So is a bit of a surprise. But again, when you can get a wide receiver in state as well, steal him from a couple of your, one of your recruiting rivals. I know we did have some kind of crystal ball predictions from some people to potentially go into NC State. So I guess you could kind of say that Carolina was able to at least steer him away from that and attract him to Chapel Hill. But again, I think when you can get a guy that has his intangibles as well, that's a lot more impressive, because you talked about him being a really good athlete, 6'3", 185. That's a good size for a wide receiver, kind of typical of what Carolina likes at that position. So yeah, to me, ticks all the boxes. And when you can get a guy from your home state that's very talented, steal him away from some other, big time programs in the state that were really, really vying for his commitment, I mean, I think it's a good day for North Carolina. And like you said, maybe there'll be a couple more wide receiver commits based on what you're saying in that class, because there just isn't a lot right now, really. Let's put it that way.
He's also a track guy. So, he
fits that dual sport athlete that Mac likes. Yeah.
Pretty huge pickup. And, North Carolina and Coach Galloway, they had great selling points. I mean, they just put 2 receivers in the NFL, Josh Downs and Antoine Green.
Yeah.
And, Josh Downs came in as a 4-star. So, it wasn't, most people, well, he should be able to get to the NFL. But Antoine Green, with all the curves and turns and everything
injuries.
In his career, injuries, it was great to see him work his butt off and get drafted. So that's another huge selling point for Carolina.
Yeah, no doubt.
And everybody that I talk to, they just talk about the family atmosphere. And Coach Brown's got some really good guys on staff, that good recruiters that are, these kids feel comfortable talking to. And that's one of the main things that I always hear about Coach Galloway is the kids trust him. He's like a older fatherly figure for them, a mentor. And he's a good wide receiver coach. He's put some pretty good players in the NFL himself.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I think the attraction of North Carolina, the attraction of playing, in terms of a position coach like Galloway, because he's such a respected guy on the staff as well. I mean, he's just so highly talked about when it comes to just internally with that staff and how important he is to not only Mac, but obviously his position group, because he is, I think, one of the best in the business when it comes to being a wide receiver coach. So yeah, I definitely get the attraction there. And I think, like you talk about it a lot with these kids when you interview them. It seems like anybody that comes into contact with Galloway or maybe is in his region that ends up committing, that usually tends to be a pretty big factor. Just that family atmosphere. And you can see it, Deana. It's evident. And we were at Showtime a couple of weeks ago, and you can just see it there when Mac's talking to some of these guys, and some of the commits are interacting with each other and some of the other coaches. It is a family atmosphere. It is very laid back, but when it comes down to playing and working hard and everything, business is business. So I think Mac's done a really good job in his staff of kind of balancing that and getting kids to come for the right reasons. Maybe that wasn't as so much in the past with NIL and everything like that. I think the kids they're getting now fit that bill a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, it just caps off a great June.
It's crazy. It's been such an active June.
People are really concerned with the recruiting class. The fans they're all into stars, and they're like, UNC's got all these 3 stars with a few 4 stars. Well, some of these 4 stars are now sprinkling in. They just got Ashton Woods, who is a dynamic linebacker out of Georgia. He's a 4-star. And there could be these 4-star wide receivers are lined up to make their choices in July. So we will see if that comes to be truth, that they land at UNC, because they all had great official visits, and Carolina feels like they have a really good shot to land some of them.
Yeah, I'm sure they do, especially with anybody in the state. So apologies if you hear some banging going on behind me. I've got some people working on my house downstairs right now. It sounds like they're about to tear my house down there, but I guess I'll go ahead and get off before I crush someone's eardrums off listening to this one, because it's about to crush mine. Deana, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Keenan Jackson committing to North Carolina, again, 6'3", 185-pound wide receiver out of Matthews, NC, attends Weddington High School, class of 2024. Big time pickup for Carolina. Been a busy month for the 2024 class, and we'll see if July, if any brings any other commits like you mentioned, Deana. I've been Jacob Turner. She's been Deana King. Appreciate y'all watching. As always, if you're excited about Jackson's commitment, go ahead and like the video below. Share it as well and hit that notification bell too, so you know every single time that we upload a podcast. And we've been doing a ton this offseason. So if you want to be notified when they come out, go ahead and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.